In today's episode of the Pathmark Presents podcast, I'm with a very interesting guest. I'm here with Christopher Ball, and he is hailing over from Journey Further, a very interesting company. And we're going to be learning much more how they basically help companies to grow in with their digital journey as well. So specifically, Christopher comes with an interesting background in marketplaces, holding a couple of roles within head of marketplaces, marketplace business development manager, and all the likes over the years. So we were going to be learning on his very specific view on this. So Christopher, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Likewise. So maybe give us an overview. What is Journey Further all about for everybody who hasn't heard about it?
Yeah, so Journey Further is a performance marketing agency. So I work in the marketplaces department, but we cover a plethora of different digital services. So digital PR, pay-per-click, SEO, like a whole broad spectrum, essentially. So any kind of marketing that you need with your business, we can kind of pretty much cover.
Cool. And what types of businesses would you be working with? Is that a certain size, a certain industry? What should we imagine?
Yeah, so I mean, we do work with some really big brands, but we also work with challenger brands as well and startup brands. They do vary quite a bit. I mean, over the last 18 to 24 months, we've been working a lot with e-commerce clients. And then previous to that, we've worked with quite a few banking ones. We've got quite a few banking ones now. So just a nice mixture, varying sizes as well.
And it's quite interesting because very often when we have performance agencies or we have them on the podcast, it varies a little bit who within the company is actually raising the hand and say, we need somebody like Journey Further. Is that a CMO who needs a support team? Is that a CEO who just wants to bring in other forces? What do you guys typically see?
Yeah, so I mean, usually it'll start with part of the marketing team, to be perfectly honest, and then they'll bring it in. But it does vary, and we do get varying leads from, sometimes it's people who've worked as marketing and have worked with us previously in the past, or worked with one at a different agency, and so it can vary quite a bit, to be honest. But we do get quite a bit.
Interesting. And the agencies we speak with, it's always quite interesting to learn about the way they actually grow, right? Because agencies are experts typically in growing other businesses, helping other businesses to succeed online. How would you describe sort of the journey of somebody getting to know Journey Further? What would be sort of the key channels you guys are leveraging? Maybe you can tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I mean, a lot of our clients kind of come on board, as I mentioned, they're kind of organically. So we have quite a bit of an organic reach. We also do quite a lot of content-based events. So we've got some events coming up. We've done events in the past. And what we tend to find is even events that we ran 12, 18 months ago, we'll still get inbound leads now because people have moved jobs and we were kind of at the forefront of the mind, which is always good. I mean, we do use standard digital stuff as well. So we will do quite a bit on social, and we'll also run ads, run quite a few ads for marketplaces because it's quite a new department. So just trying to get people in that way.
Okay, so leveraging the full suite, kind of so not the cobbler's shoes example here in this case.
Yeah, it's quite handy because we've got SEO experts, we've got pay-per-click experts, so we can kind of utilize all that and do everything in-house.
Very cool. With this type of inbound traffic coming in, we always like to ask a little bit about the website. And every marketer has very different responsibilities, obviously, within the agencies. But I'm curious about your specific perspective. How do you think about the website? What role does journeyfurther.com play in your mind for the business?
Yeah, I think a lot of the time, if it's someone just doing generic searches, it can be the first port of call. It's kind of front of house and kind of how it's perceived by someone looking at it. Can be quite important. I know our website at the moment is in the process of being rebuilt, so they're looking to change it up a little bit. So yeah, it is quite important, as I say, because sometimes it's literally the first touch point, depending which kind of route they've come down.
Makes sense. Let's switch gears a little bit and talk about sort of your more generic perspective on marketing, and specifically in this angle of marketplaces. And maybe you could tell me, if you're taking on a role as a head of marketplaces, tell us a little bit sort of about the challenges when it comes to bringing in innovation, right? You're coming into a role of head of marketplaces. You typically, I guess, there's like things you want to change and improve. Like, what does that role specifically have? Sort of which challenges typically occur in that specific role?
Yeah, so I mean, luckily for me, like marketplaces in an agency is quite a new concept. So it was kind of like a blank canvas coming in. I was kind of guided of like the agency ways, but then I've been kind of left to kind of set things up. I mean, some of the hardest things about marketplaces in kind of general really is that you're kind of playing in someone else's sandbox. So like, for example, Amazon's making up all the rules, so we're quite limited to kind of like what kind of content we can put out there and what kind of creative we can use. So it can be quite limited to it. I think that's the biggest challenge, is working within them confinements.
Okay, I see. Could you describe maybe for everybody who does not yet fully grasp the concept of the marketplace's role within an agency, like maybe explain us a little bit, like what would be sort of the responsibilities and where does a role like this grow to within agencies?
Yeah, so what they were tending to find before I actually started the company is that more and more companies were making inquiries or outreach into us and asking, oh, we want help with pay-per-click, but we also want help with pay-per-click on Amazon, which Amazon AMS, or we want some SEO done on the website, but we also want SEO done on our Amazon listings or our eBay listings. So they're kind of crossing over, and it's having that holistic approach where that Amazon will be running ads and you'll be running Google ads, and it's having that kind of joint up approach instead of having two agencies, like an Amazon agency and a Google agency, never talking to each other and both running different ads and both running different prices. With ours, it enables us to basically have internal teams where we'll have like a client lead and we can kind of make sure that one's not like kind of just eating out the other's revenue, essentially.
Interesting. Okay, that makes a whole lot of sense. We've seen that you guys are also doing conversion rate optimization services within Journey Further, and it's a topic that is very close to the podcast and very close to the heart of the listeners. Maybe tell us a little bit about the challenges of conversion optimization, but maybe from the angle of marketplaces. Like, what do you typically see is, because I'm sure this is where you're very much in depth involved, like how do people think about conversion optimization on those marketplaces with limited sort of, freedom on the platform design?
Yeah, it can be quite hard. But what we tend to do is we have like a set of unwritten rules that we kind of follow, and it's making sure that we can get people through to clients' listings, and then once we're on there, we need to make sure they convert, and that's like a combination of testing, learning, relevant keywords, and also like copy that converts, essentially. So it's kind of an amalgamation of loads of different departments, really. So we need a creative, we need a copy. So it can be quite challenging that way.
Cool. I mean, that's quite interesting, because it seems to be a very unique challenge within the marketplaces in itself, given there's so much constraints in a way, right, by the platform.
Yeah, I mean, it does. But then on the flip side is that the level of traffic that goes through. I mean, the vast majority of our clients are Amazon first, so the amount of sales and the amount of traffic that goes through Amazon is just absolutely ridiculous. So you're kind of happy to play within the sandbox if it's bringing in that level of revenue.
For sure. Good. Let's switch gears one more time and learn a little bit about sort of your journey. I mentioned you've been in a couple of marketplace related roles. How do you keep on educating yourself? Because also this is a very rapid developing sort of industry and environment, a lot of things to learn, a lot of experiments are running and people are publishing blog posts. Like, how do you keep sort of up to date? What's your go-to path?
Yeah, so I mean, it's quite a hard one, to be honest, because I've been working on marketplace for like 11 years. So I started on eBay when eBay was bigger, like as a third-party marketplace anyway. And then gradually moved over to Amazon. So 11 years experience is quite a decent chunk, to be honest. And it's such a niche as well, where it's very rare that I'll find something new that I didn't know before, although it does come up. But what I tend to do is, one, I'll tend to keep on working on accounts. So I'll still work on Amazon accounts pretty much on a daily basis, especially in the advertising console, because that seems to be where the most innovations happen at the moment. So within every week, they seem to be adding something new. So try and keep on top of it that way. And then in general, it's just a lot of reading as well. So Amazon knowledge, I don't tend to add that much on a weekly basis, but like reading books, and I mean, very lucky where I work as well. We have like a book club, so I literally get sent like a book every 2 weeks. So so that's really handy. And then within the agency itself, there's quite a bit of crossover, so you're able to do like other projects. So I'm working on a project at the moment, which is like a blockchain-based project. So it's literally nothing to do with my everyday work. So it just keeps things interesting as well.
Very cool. You mentioned the book club there. Like maybe give us a sentence or two of how that works within the company and how you personally perceive it. If that's maybe people who are listening and might be being sort of inspired to bring something into their companies.
So yeah, all you need to do is if you search for Journey Further Book Club, you'll be able to find it straight away. I mean, I actually came across it before I started working at the book Journey Further, sorry. And the lady who runs it, Isabel, she sent me a message on LinkedIn saying, oh, you should join. So yeah, and essentially what happens is new books are just coming out, and you just get books sent out to you free of charge. And some of them are really good authors as well. Some are really good concepts, really good ideas. The kind of books that you see on people doing TED Talks about. So it's like rebellious ideas and how to do this, how to be more pirate. So, and they're usually really well received within the agency, and quite a few of the concepts were like added within the agency itself. So
very cool. Awesome. Since we're slowly coming to an end of the interview, I would love to jump into our rapid fire questions. Are you ready for those?
Yeah, go on, fire away.
Very good. The first one should be easy for you. What's the last book you read?
I'm trying to think. What is the last book I read? I can see the cover. Never Split the Difference.
Very good one. What is one single thing your company is focused on the most at the moment?
The people who work there.
If there would be no boundaries in tech, what's the one thing you would fix for your role today?
Fully automated.
Very good. What's the last thing that kept you awake at night about the company?
I wouldn't say the company itself. It's probably more a client that kept me awake.
And the last question would be, if you would be sort of, we're zooming back in time a little bit, going into sort of the first days of your career in marketing, right? What's the one advice you would give yourself?
It'd probably be a few things. One would be listen more, don't moan as much, and not everyone knows what they're doing.
I like this one. That's very good. Christopher, I really appreciate you taking the time with us today to be a guest on Pathfund Presents. I want to give you the very last word. If somebody would be forgetting all that we discussed on the show today, what's the one thing that they should remember?
That marketplaces are the future.
Very good. And succinct. Thanks a lot for being a guest on Pathfund Presents.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Bye-bye.